Hi everyone, in this tutorial I'm going to show you how to use Affinity Designer to create a custom multi-layered Canva frame so you can easily swap in multiple elements and images with a quick drag and drop. Now I'm going to be using the desktop version of Designer version 2, but as long as you know where the tools are located, you can easily follow along on the iPad version as well. So let's get started. I've created a 3000 by 3000 pixel canvas set to 300 dpi. While I'm creating everything with vectors, my elements are going to be exported as rasters. So just in case I want to use this for something printable in Canva, I want to make sure I'm setting it up at a print-ready DPI. Now I'm going to keep my shapes pretty simple, but the principles apply to any layered shape that you create. I'll select my cloud tool, and I have a black stroke, the color doesn't matter, and no fill, and a stroke width of 5 points. I'm going to start in the middle of my canvas and holding down Command and Shift, I'll just drag out a shape. Now I want to add some bubbles to this, so I'm going to go to the top here and just bring this up to 25. I'm also going to make them a little more shallow, so I'll just bring the inner radius up to 90. The next thing I want to do is select my ellipse tool, and again, starting from the center of my shape, I'll hold down Command and Shift and just drag out to right about there. And I want this to be sort of a band around here. So I'm going to Command J to duplicate that shape. And with my move tool and Command and Shift held down, I'm going to drag in just slightly. And that's it. Those are the only three shapes I need to create in this case. These are going to create three separate drop zones. And I'm going to use my vector flood fill tool to create the bitmap fills that I need for my frames. When creating layered Canva frames, anywhere that you want a separate frame needs to be an individual raster element. In this case, I want the outer cloud shape here, this thick band, and then this center ellipse to be three separate frames. I'm going to use the vector flood fill tool along with the stock studio to add three individual bitmap fills that Canva is going to see as separate layers. Now the actual images don't matter because they're going to be removed as soon as the frame is pulled into Canva. What will matter is the order of the bitmap fills in the layer stack. Let me create them and I'll show you what I mean. I'm going to click and drag to select all of my layers and then select the vector flood fill tool. It's important that you select the tool first and then your fill because it's always going to remember the last fill used. In this case, I used a vector swatch. So I want to go to my stock studio, and again, the actual images don't matter. I'm just going to click to select one. And if I zoom in here and hover over my selected shapes, you can see it's going to light up wherever I have a drop zone for a fill. So I'm going to hover here and click, and it's going to add a bitmap fill to that outer cloud shape. I'll select a second shape, hover over between these two ellipses, click, and it's going to add that band. And then again, I'm going to choose one final one and click in the center. So now that those are in place, let's head to the layer stack and take a look at what's happening. The first thing I'm going to do is group up my three strokes and turn them off. I don't plan to export these with my final frame, so I'm just going to move them to the bottom and get them out of the way. So I have my three shapes here, and my outer shape is first in the layer stack. The middle shape is in the middle, and then this center shape is at the very bottom. Now, I mentioned earlier that the layer stack is important when creating the frames, and this is why. When you're dragging an image towards a frame in Canva, it's always going to add the image to whatever it sees first in the layer stack. So if I have this outer shape all the way at the top, it's going to add my image to it and just stop there. I'm not going to easily be able to add images to these two without moving this one out of the way, and I don't want to have to do that. So I need to make sure that my innermost layer is at the top of the stack. So I'm just going to drag that up. I'm going to make sure that this second layer remains in the middle, and then this one is at the bottom. So basically you want to go from the inside out when it comes to creating your layers for a layered Canva frame. With my layers all set, I'm ready to export this and bring it into Canva. I'll head up to File and choose Export. And whenever you're creating frames, you want to make sure you're choosing PDF as your export option. That's going to maintain the layers exactly how Canva needs them. You can choose the preset for print or for high quality. You just want to make sure that your raster DPI remains 300. I'm not going to touch anything else in here. I'll just hit export, name my file, and choose my location. I'm going to do that off screen, and once it's done, I'll head into Canva to import it and take the final steps to create the frame. There are a couple of ways that you can import a new document into Canva. You can start from the home screen here at Upload. In my case, I actually want to use an existing file that I have created, or I've created some other shape frames. I'm just going to add a page to this and pull my new frame into this one. So I'll go to my Uploads and choose Upload Files. I'm going to find that PDF. Now, it's not going to pull it in here in the Uploads tab. It's actually going to pull it in here in the Projects under Designs. So now that that's in place, I can just click it and it's going to add it to this page. So I can close this out. I'm done with that. The next thing I need to do is just remove each of the bitmap fills. Before I do that, so it's easier to see, I'm going to go to Position and show you the layers. So you can see that because I saved it as a PDF, it saved each of my layers individually, which means I'll have 3 individual frames. All I need to do is click on each one. I'll click on the trash can. It's going to give me 2 options, either delete image or delete frame. In this case, I just want to delete the image and keep the frame. I'll do that for each one until I have 3 separate images. So you can see the frames are still there. It's a little difficult to see just because it's using the same one on each one, but you can see down here where this little hill is, I have 3 separate frames. So now if I go into my elements, I can drag my images in and I can add images to each individual one very easily. Now let me show you what I meant earlier when I talked about the layer stack being important. If I select this and go back to my positions and I drag this up to the top, if I go back to my elements here and try and drag something into the center here, let's just drag this in. You can see it's automatically going to change that and it's going to stop there. Even if I pull it past it, it's not going to let me add anything to either of these two. The only way that I'd be able to do it is to move this out of the way. So again, I need to make sure that my layer stack is in the right order so that I can easily pull things in the way that I need to. Now from here, I can leave this in the document and just copy and paste it into any other canvas and I'm all set. I'm going to be creating several of these tutorials showing you different ways to create a variety of layered frames, so be sure to hit subscribe on my channel so you know whenever I post them. If you enjoyed my teaching style and want to check out my full-length classes, you can find a link to both my Skillshare channel and my own learning site, the Creator Collage, in the description below. I have lots more tutorials to come here on my YouTube channel, but in the meantime, you might want to check out one of these two next. Thanks for watching.